Good morning, Sam Hussain, organizer of BLS Global, and organizer of the Global Investment Immigration Summit. We're delighted to have the Honourable Gaston, Browne, Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda speak, obviously at the keynote event, and we're blessed to have him here to be able to answer a few questions that we have regarding the citizenship industry. As I mentioned, the Prime Minister is an aspiration to the industry, and we're very fortunate to have him here in order to basically explain and outline the developments within the program, and obviously educating the people in the industry that we have a reputation and we want to make sure we excel in this industry and keep our standards at the highest standard in order to make sure this program sustains itself and develops continuously. Prime Minister, thank you very much for the keynote speech.
Pleasure, thank you. It was an absolute pleasure.
Fantastic.
Prime Minister, could you give us a brief summary of your program?
Our program in Antigua and Barbuda?
Yeah.
I think we have easily the most transparent and one of the best value for money programs anywhere in the world. We have three different options. We have the real estate option, the business option, as well as the National Development Fund option, which is a contribution to the government of Antigua and Barbuda. Presently, the NDF stands at 140,000 US dollars, including fees, all fees, for a family of four. And I believe that is the best value for money in the market today. And our real estate and business options, as you know, the minimum investment is set at 400,000 US dollars, but we now have a special that we are running. It's a 2-for-1 option in which related parties could come together and pay 200,000 US dollars apiece and invest under the real estate or the business option. So again, absolutely confident that we have one of the best value for money programs in the world. And we would have noted over the years since we've started operating this program that all of the investments that have been made so far on our CIP program have been successful. So for example, real estate values in Antigua and Barbuda have been on an upward trajectory. So there has been no decline in real estate value. And most of the investments we've had so far in the accommodation sector, the hotel sector, and several of the projects are near completion. And from all indications, they're poised to be very profitable entities that will bring not only an investment on the actual construction end of the investment, but also sustainable returns over a long period of time. So I also think too that from the experience in the last few years that there is also the opportunity for appreciation in value, so that typically I believe that real estate values on the island are actually undervalued at about 30%. So almost invariably, whenever someone invests in real estate, there's an arbitrage opportunity to have an increase in value almost immediately of 30%. Plus the sustainable returns would have made these investments extremely viable and sustainable.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. You've touched briefly during the presentation regarding Irma and the hurricane, and we know it's affected, obviously, Barbuda tremendously. And we want to understand what role has the citizenship program played in that sense in helping regarding the incidents, unfortunate incidents that's happened.
The reality is our CIP program would have contributed to all sectors of our development. And even in the case of Barbuda, that was decimated by Hurricane Irma last September, we have utilized some of the CIP programs to purchase relief supplies, and the actual reconstruction that is taking place, a significant amount of the proceeds came from the CIP program. In fact, we have a special program that we're running now in which we are constructing new homes for the Barbudans who were displaced, those who lost their homes. to build properties for them in order to ensure that they are resettled on Barbuda, because we still have about 2/3 of the population living on Antigua, and we're using the CIP program to rebuild their homes so that they can resettle in Barbuda. So again, it's all encompassing, not only assisted us in the hurricane recovery and relief, but in other areas, in healthcare, in education, even in terms of investing in environmental resilience. So for example, one of the projects that was funded by our CIP program is a 10 megs solar plant, which was constructed at a cost of approximately $21 million US. And it was a CIP proceeds that we utilized to pay for that facility, which has been paid in its entirety. CIP has also been utilized to pay debts. In fact, one of the successes that we would have enjoyed during our 4 years in office was the repayment of an IMF loan of $320 million. And a significant amount of the proceeds came from the CIP program. So, I mean, the CIP program is all-encompassing in its effect, and its, let's say, its contributions could be felt practically in every sector of our society.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
We have a few more questions. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
We've seen a lot of changes recently when it comes to the Caribbean programs. A solution might be the heads of the citizenship units or the prime ministers to have a common ground. Do you see that happening, and if possible, soon?
Well, yes, and I have to remain hopeful about early intervention, because the last thing you want is a race to the bottom. And as you know, there have been increased competition and pricing, which is never a good thing, because that could eventually have a race to the bottom, and in addition reduce the yield of these programs significantly to our countries. So Antigua and Barbuda has been at the forefront of encouraging harmonization of these programs. Harmonization not only in terms of pricing, but certainly the due diligence standards in particular, to make sure that none of the countries cut corners insofar as due diligence is concerned. In fact, the effectiveness of these programs and the sustainability of these programs depend primarily on the robust due diligence mechanisms that are required. So the last thing we want is a situation in which we try to reduce processing times and perhaps compromise the integrity of the due diligence. So again, I do accept that we need to move quickly, and we have been urging the other heads within the OECS sub-region to come together to harmonize the programs and to protect the integrity of the various programs. Because the problem is, we all operate within the OECS sub-region, so that even though Antigua and Barbuda, would be adhering to the various standards, international standards, if you have one country within the Caribbean that does not adhere to those standards, it has implications for all of us, because we're considered to be a single region. Yes. And maybe that is because we have a single economy within the OECS sub-region. So it is in the best interest of all states to come together and to harmonize the operations of these CIP programs to ensure viability and ultimate sustainability.
Fantastic. Prime Minister, we also know Vanuatu has been accepting cryptocurrency as a citizenship program.
Who has been?
Vanuatu.
Oh, Vanuatu.
Yeah,
okay.
Vanuatu, through the Bitcoin as a cryptocurrency. You've also touched bases during your presentation. You're looking into cryptocurrency, as well as especially the blockchain technology, which would really help and improve the due diligence process. Right. And it's coming across, Antigua wants to be a pioneer in enhancing this due diligence, as well as the blockchain technologies. We know there's a lot of cryptocurrencies and also people in the industry that want to see how this will progress. So how far has Antigua government gone into section with cryptocurrency and blockchain technology?
Well, you're right that we're trying to be pioneers and also to be at the top of the food chain. Yeah. And in order to get there, you have to move pretty early to get that first move advantage. But we do recognize that it comes with certain pitfalls, because there's so many cryptocurrencies out there. Yeah. There's so many nefarious actors who have been doing their own mining and
Yes.
who have created some bogus currencies that
Yes.
recognize we have to be very careful. We're lucky in the sense that we have an Antiguan citizen, Calvin, who is a major investor in Bitcoin Cash, who has invested over 250 million US dollars in developing the technology. And he's also well vested in Antigua in terms of physical assets. So we believe that we're in a position to utilize his services to provide settlement for CIP investments in Bitcoin Cash, with the understanding that we will convert into fiat currency almost immediately to reduce or eliminate any potential risk. So for us, we are creating the space for the technology to operate because, we consider our government to be an entrepreneurial government, and it's important that we allow entrepreneurs to operate, and where opportunities could be exploited by the government, we'll certainly do so, taking into consideration that we have to manage the risk.
Yes.
So we're very mindful of that. But at the same time, I think that it makes sense to get involved in technology. We know for sure blockchain is here to stay. There's nothing wrong with the technology. What we have to guard against, the nefarious actors. So,
Yes.
and as much as we are bullish about getting involved in that space and to develop the necessary laws and regulations to govern it, we would make sure at the same time that we exercise some level of caution and prudence, making sure that the legislative and legal framework are in place even before we would have licensed anyone to operate within that Bitcoin cryptocurrency space. And again, as I said, I think we have at least one global player who we can rely upon to help us to enter that space with a relatively low level of risk, because that player has a significant amount of assets on the island already.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Prime Minister. It's been a pleasure having you at this forum, and we cannot thank you enough. And hopefully you'll be part of the next Global Investment Immigration Series.
It will be a pleasure, and I thank you.